What is up, guys? Wraec here with a new video, and today with another video about Cyran, because, well, yesterday we made a video about him and I showed him off in Supreme Arena, showing a wilder team that was really cool in my opinion. But there was a comment saying, well, you can do it with all the fancy wilder stuff, with all the fancy season stuff, but what about normal arena? Can you do something in there with him? And I was like, well, of course, challenge accepted. Let's go in there. Let's get a few points. You can see daily purchase limit reached. We did all the attacks today, and I actually managed to find a team that can consistently beat the #1 whale on my server. So I guess that's pretty cool. I started off like with a pretty standard team based around him. I wanted to have Lily May in there. I wanted to go Thorin a little bit with Damien and doing like the double heal. Thought I would stack a little bit. That was basically the setup I had for Cryonia. We can take a look at this team. It didn't go too well. It didn't go too well. I quickly noticed, well, the problem is still, and even more amplified in normal arena, that our Cyran will just ult first, and by the time we then get to cast a second ult, we are annihilated by Dionel, and yeah, that is not too great. So in the next step, I could try to enhance that a little bit by adding Lorsan, because I think Lorsan is pretty cool, and we can see like the enhanced version of this fight as well. Lorsan in this situation links to the Dionel, does a ton of damage on the Dionel. Not quite able to destroy him, but as he is using Confined Spell, we get to actually use Stun on him. And every time Lorsan's chain break by doing enough damage, we actually get the stun. And in this situation, we nearly snagged the win, and I really thought, well, we have it here. Look at that, the Dionel is gone, it's so great. And we actually still lose that because the Lily May solos us. Yeah. And then, through a few iterations, I ended up with a team that I have right now. You can see 3 minutes ago, I did the last fight, jumped into the video, and this is it. This is basically it. We have the Thorin in here, we still have the Ludovic, and then I went for basically a damage trifecta. I have Cyran in here, not really for the ult. I let myself inspire a little bit by the Graveborn team that Atraxi did yesterday in the video, and I showed that off, and focus a little bit more on the Arcane Barrage, one of the most devastating second abilities I would reckon in the game. 3 magic orbs that are shot to the place with the most enemies and deal 80% damage to the enemy that we shoot it at and to the adjacent enemies, and they can do a ton of damage, and it's magic damage, of course, so we combine it with the next best thing, with the next most potent damage dealer, which is of course Bonnie. Bonnie with her aging curse, absolutely great, because the great thing about this is when we have, when we have aging on the enemy, we reduce the haste. So already we have reduced haste basically from the start on the enemy Dionel. Absolutely great. And then on top of that, we get to spread that around with Cyran. We get to deal a ton of damage to the enemy. We start off by blocking his artifact, which is really nice. True damage, we can confine the enemy. Then we have Lorsan linking to Dionel, and that renders Dionel essentially useless. You can see how little this guy actually did here. And I want you to keep an eye out on that guy. He's confined. He has reduced haste. He's stunned right now. He's not doing anything at the moment. And before he can even do his ult, he's already gone. And just like that, because we have the link and we have Bonnie and we have our Cyran that spreads the Bonnie aging and everything, we are already like at max aging on all of the enemies, which is absolutely insane. Then we get chain stuns from Lorsan, and of course a little bit of tank there from the Thorin. And keep in mind, my Bonnie is just P1, so we don't even have like super huge Paragon on the board. We have a P3 Lorsan, we have a P3 Cyran, which you would say, okay, that is a quite insane Paragon, but compared to what Endgame brings to the board, we're looking at another thing. We get the execute here on our wonderful on the enemy Thorin. The nice thing here is also the combination when you get to the point that you can cast active skills, and if you get the combination of like Cyran active skill with the Black Hole, and then you can also get the Storm from Lorsan, both on the same position, which is really great. Maybe we can take a look at that in PvE. But you see he has like 4 P4s on the board. One is even the Crown Lily May, and then he has the P1 Dunlinger. So it's not like we have a super big Paragon advantage here. If I look at this correctly, we are at the Paragon disadvantage even. So that is something to note. Let's take a look at exactly this team and let's just put it against like a normal team in PvE, just so that we get to see the effects a little bit. And of course, this is not a PvE team by no means. I just wanted to show it off a little bit. We have the link here at the start. The link brings us to stun and adds true damage to one of the enemies. We hit one enemy and the damage gets linked to the other. And then once we have enough damage on that link, it actually breaks the chain. This team is not super bad at PvE, by the way. The thing is, we still have a little bit of heal. We have like Bonnie, we have our Cyran. It's just not super good at sustaining the CC, even though it has 2 types of it, which is kind of fun. So yeah, we actually win. Okay, that is pretty cool. And the combination of all of this, like chain stuns, we have 2 types of stuns. We have the stun from Lawson, the stun from Bonnie. Then we have Cyran with this lift ability and the AoE area. All of those threads together work fairly well. And what it also excels at is like working without an ult. If you don't have an ult, you still have the chain. You still have the heal from Ludovic, the immediate heal. You have Thorin at least tanking stuff and taking damage away from us. And we have Cyran, who can still throw his orbs, who can still buff his stuff, you can still use his curse grab. And we have Bonnie, of course, with her aging doing a ton of damage. And all of that works fairly well together and creates kind of an environment in which we can even work against the Dunlinger. So that works fairly well. What does this team not really excel, or where are the weaknesses? If you were to set this team as a defense team, I reckon you would be annihilated in the arena. The reason for this is we are not using Lily May, neither do we use Dunlinger. So in this situation, the problem would arise that we would be vulnerable to an Iron team. So you can just pretty much simply counter this with an Iron team. And that would not be very nice. It's of course an option to go ahead and maybe take the Lawson or put the Lily May in. That could be something that works. Or what you could do, and that would probably work towards us being a little bit less vulnerable to Iron in a sense, if you were to replace the Lawson with what Atraxi did, a Callan. Because that would make our team actually a lot more tanky and probably would be enough to outlast usual teams of with Iron, but I get that not many people have, and maybe people have a little bit of Lawson. Well, the Lawson, I would say, is a little bit of a flex spot, and with the positioning that the enemy had in that specific scenario, it worked out fairly well because we got to link to the Dionel. Some people will counter that, and then it doesn't work too well. So that is something you have to decide for yourself. Is it worth using Lawson, or do we want to go for something else? We discussed the Arden combination yesterday. That is something that you can do. You can just straight up say, okay, I go for Arden, I go a little bit more for the ult of the Callan, and then this works out too. Or you go for a little bit more heal and maybe put in a Damien. Stacking Damien on top and then using Bonnie, using Ludovic, using Thorin, and using Cyran. That is something that you can do as well, and is fairly interesting just because you have like 2 healers and will be a little bit more consistent maybe, and then you just trust in the combination of like Bonnie and Cyran, which is really, really good. I'm still a very big fan of Cyran for PvP. We already discussed that he's like a very good hero for exactly that purpose. Wouldn't necessarily recommend him for AFK stages, even though, as we just saw, he does decently well there. It is quite alright, and I like him. But yeah, so hopefully you enjoy this team. I will give you the formation very, very quickly. We have it right here. It's an Arena 4 formation. Maybe we can make a code as well, create ID. I will put that down in the description so that you can copy it. And other than that, here's the preview. If you just want to see it, it's fairly easily set up, just with the link here to the Cyran and the Ludovic in the middle, so that we have a good amount of heal over here and Bonnie over there. So yeah, that works out fairly well. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this team. Tell me if we were able to use it as an offensive or defensive team in Arena, and if it helped you. And with that, I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.